former Democratic Congressman for New York, Joe Crowley, and former Republican Congressman for Georgia, Tom Graves. Good to see you both, gentlemen. Tom, what do you think here? Is Kevin McCarthy in trouble? Will he get the support he needs to secure the job? Because we've seen this before, whether it be McCarthy or Paul Ryan or Nancy Pelosi. There's a lot of talk about them being in trouble as they, launch this bid for Speaker, and then they find the votes.
Yeah, you're right, Kenneth, and thanks for having me. Happy Veterans Day to everyone. Thank you for your service. And no, you're right. Every speaker vote or nomination that comes after an election generally is pretty spirited. And this one may be a little bit more so than normal because the majority is yet to be determined as to what size it will be. And so Republicans do meet next week. That's the schedule, at least, is to meet next week. And that's historically been how quick they would nominate their leadership. But in this case, I hear there's some discussion from members of the Republican conference about postponing that to see how many Republicans will be there and also allow every Republican nominee the opportunity to cast a vote as well.
But our John Carl is reporting here, our chief Washington correspondent, that if Kevin McCarthy wants to be the next speaker, he apparently has to pledge allegiance to former President Trump's potential bid for 2024 and say that he fully endorses him and supports him. People are asking, how is Kevin McCarthy, number one, going to find the votes, but how is he going to rally with a really tight majority here? How is he going to manage that tight majority, especially for those who want President Trump to be the next president?
Yeah, I guess it's going to me. It will be tough. There's no question about it. There's a very big difference between a political majority and a governing majority. And I think, whoever the speaker is, whether Republican or Democrat, you obviously want the political majority because you win, but you also want the ability to govern. They put together a pretty robust and forward-thinking aspirational agenda. Now the objective is to implement that agenda. But before they can do that, the Republicans have to come together. They have to elect their leadership, and they have to coalesce back into one group and then move forward with the governing aspect that the American people have asked them to do.
Joe, I'm going to let you take a turn at that question as well, since we heard from Tom. How does Donald Trump play into whether or not Kevin McCarthy is the next speaker?
Well, I think Donald Trump is becoming more and more toxic to his own party, quite frankly. And I do think, it's hard for me to imagine how or when we've had such a tight divide within the House of Representatives. This may come down to a majority of 2 within the House of Representatives. And so, it's tough slug away. Kevin McCarthy was touting, he'd have a 30 vote advantage going into this, and that never materialized. And that has had to have disappointed a great many within this conference. So it really remains to be seen how this all plays out. I find it hard to believe they'll actually have these elections next Tuesday, given that many of the members of their own caucus, they may not even know who they are yet at that point.
Very true. Very good point there. And, Joe, I have to ask you about what you think about these midterm results so far and what they say about the future of both the Democratic and the Republican parties.
Well, I think it really does say that I think Americans took to heart the issue of the sustainability of our democracy. And I think that was really, really key. People had said, no, it's going to be about the economy. It's going to be about other issues. I do think that more and more people were concerned about this, as well as choice and women's reproductive rights. I think those 2 issues really were much more strong than they're stronger than what had been anticipated. And young voters came out in a big way supporting Democrats in this election. I think that's what really made the difference.
So, Tom, we've been keeping a watch on these races in Nevada, Arizona. We got the Georgia runoff. What are your takeaways here? What do you see happening?
From listening to some senator friends of mine, they feel like Nevada is certainly something that could come to add to the Republican conference there in the Senate. And then Georgia obviously is going to be a very competitive and hopeful opportunity for Republicans. And I think Herschel Walker is a great candidate there. But one thing I've heard from donors, and this building a little bit on what Joe was saying, from the Republican side, when you look at nearly between both parties, probably almost $500 million was donated to both parties to go through these elections. And this just didn't turn out the way the Republicans hoped it would. And so as they reflect back and they go, you know what, just 4 years ago or 6 years ago, we had a Republican House and a Republican Senate. We won a presidency. 2 years later, we lose the House. 2 years later, we lose the Senate and the presidency. And now it's still trending differently. And so I think the traditional Republican base and donors are re-examining the direction of the party and saying, hey, what happened and how do we correct course here?
All right, we're going to leave it right there. Joe Crowley, Tom Graves, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.